Josh, I have a question.
Yeah, James, what's up?
What is right behind me? Can you see over my big head?
It looks like the Lombardi Trophy.
That is right. Wow, you are such a football knower, man, because this week is Super Bowl week. Welcome to episode 23 of the Goal Line Guys with my main man, Josh. And today, we got a lot to cover. Last week we did the mock draft, so we're a little bit up behind on some of the other things. As we're doing this, awards are coming out, but we ain't got time for those. We got time for who is going to get the Lombardi. Is it the Seattle Seahawks or the New England Patriots? Because I got to be honest with you, man. First of all, how are you doing? How are you doing?
Doing pretty good, James. As you were talking about earlier, the awards are coming out right now. So if we have enough time at the end of this episode, we might quickly run through them, kind of give our quick thoughts. But that's not what that's not what this episode's about. Talking about the Lombardi Trophy. Super Bowl 60?
Super Bowl 60. Buffalo
Super Bowl
chicken
60.
dip, buffalo chicken wings, beer, brats, and backyard football because it is Super Bowl Sunday. And I just want to get this out of the way first. Shout out to New England and Seattle. These two teams, I mean, this is like one of the least expected Super Bowls I've ever thought. I never in a million years would I have thought that these would be the two teams playing in the Super Bowl this year. Never in a million.
Yeah.
I had both these teams borderline in last place of their division. I had Seattle in last place in their division, and the Patriots like second or third. Look at them now, man. Look at them now. It's really impressive. Give them all the credit.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen this throughout the whole season. I mean, if we look back, the Patriots lost to the Raiders in week 1. The Raiders had their first overall pick. Patriots were in the Super Bowl, and they lost that week 1. Seahawks, I mean, what a complete 180 from the Geno Smith, DK Metcalf year to Sam Darnold and Jason, and an incredible defense. No one expected this. I think even their respective fan bases can agreeably say that they didn't expect this.
First quarterback in the 2018 draft to make the Super Bowl. Sam Darnold, baby. Let's ride. Oh, my goodness, man.
I mean, you had Baker Mayfield, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Josh Rosen, but no, Sam Darnold.
Sam freaking Darnold, man. And I am excited for this. I have my thoughts. I really do. But before we do that, I think there's something we've kind of glossed over. We talked about it a couple podcasts ago as the cycle continues. And as of now, the cycle is officially wrapped up when it comes to head coaches. All 10 spots have now been completely filled. That's almost a third of the league has been completely filled with new coaches. And there have been some really interesting ones on the back end with a lot of drama too when it comes to it.
Yeah.
So I guess if you got a specific one you want to start out with, let's kick it off and continue our analysis of these head coaching hires.
Yeah, very quickly. So we've talked about the first 5 head coaches that got a new job. Very quickly, the last 5, the last remaining is Mike McCarthy to the Steelers, Joe Brady being promoted with the Bills, Todd Monken going to the Browns, Mike LaFleur, Cardinals, and Clint Kubiak, once the Super Bowl is finished, will be the head coach of the Raiders. So with these 5, there is a lot to talk about. I'm going to start off with Mike McCarthy. This one, to me, I got quite a little rant to go on. First and foremost, when I look at the Steelers team, I think there are 2 different points of views you can look at. And I think those points of views perfectly represent the organization with the front office and the fans. I think the fans are finally ready for a true rebuild. I think the fans realize, maybe see this team, and with the oldest defense in the league, don't quite have a quarterback on the roster, potentially Aaron Rodgers. I think they're ready for a rebuild. I don't think they believe in this team able to make a full run to the Super Bowl. Now, their front office, completely different. I think they are ready to reload and go right back in. They've put too much into this team for it to fall apart. I think this perfectly encapsulates why they got Mike McCarthy. You go and get a Super Bowl winning head coach that sounds good and everything, who has a great relationship with the quarterback that you're trying to retain in Aaron Rodgers. So I see that from the organization's point, the front office.
I get that,
you go in and get Buddy, a guy who's been to Super Bowl before, to reload very quickly because you have a very small window.
Well, because that's what they talked about is
Yep.
before the hiring even started, they said Aaron Rodgers would only consider going back to the
Mhm.
Steelers if Mike McCarthy was hired.
And that's exactly what they did. Now, the fans, I don't think they have any belief in this team. I mean, and
Man, okay.
but think about this. Last year, or this past offseason, TJ Watt had his worst year of his career. You had Jalen Ramsey in the back end, didn't play very good. Patrick Queen didn't play very good. You have all these older guys who are just getting older, and you have so many holes on both sides of that field, both sides. And I don't think getting a band aid head coach that might be there for realistically a year or two, because he's not staying for a rebuild. This is such a dysfunctional situation between the relationship of the fans and the organization. Um, with that all being said, I see both points of views. If this works out, amazing hire. This is a very quick turnaround. If this does not, this can really set them back multiple years.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you.
Mhm.
It's very head scratching to me because, like you said, when I look at this Steelers roster, they're old. If you
Mhm.
showed that Steelers roster 10 years ago, I would say it's the best roster I've ever seen in NFL history. Now it's a bunch of washed veterans.
Yeah.
You're looking at all these other teams. Okay, let's pull the plug. Let's hit a rebuild. Let's do this. The Steelers have been like the Steelers fans have been saying this for 4 years, 4+
Mhm.
years. It's the exact same thing. You bring in a veteran, I'd say mediocre, maybe a little bit above average head coach, 10-year
Mhm.
record. And it's like, hey, we're going to keep Aaron Rodgers, 42-year-old Aaron Rodgers, for one more season and make a playoff push. Newsflash, man, like you said, it's not getting any better. Your guys are
Yeah.
old. You don't have a lot of star rookie promise. You've been trading all your draft capital. You've been pumping all your money into these really old guys. And your division is rebuilding faster than you are. The Bengals are rebuilding and they're retooling their roster. The Browns are
Mhm.
retooling their roster. The Ravens are
The
complete.
Ravens
I
are.
mean, the Ravens were in a better position than Pittsburgh was, and they're completely reshaping their roster to try to compete.
Mhm.
It just seems like Pittsburgh's stuck in a time capsule where they think Aaron Rodgers, DK Metcalf, and Caleb Johnson are Ben Roethlisberger, Antonio Brown, and Le'Veon Bell. And you have
It's fun.
You have Jalen Ramsey, who's Troy Polamalu on the
Yep.
back end, and I
TJ
mean,
Watt, that's
it,
James Harrison.
yeah, and you got like prime Cameron Hayward. Newsflash, man, like I just like listen. I think McCarthy is just not the fit. I think McCarthy is he's I just he's had his McCarthy has definitely had his inside. He's had his successes, but he's just never made it over the hump. And what this team needs is to make it over the hump. And I think the question is just like, listen, after this season is done, right? After this next season is done, and
Mhm.
everyone's gone. And it's like, okay, guess what? We hired Mike McCarthy to keep Rodgers in that Super Bowl window. What are we going to do now? Because we have to rethink everything. So I think it's definitely a head scratching move on my part because I just see it as you're doing the same thing over and over again, even though it doesn't keep working. There's like phrases of saying that
Mhm.
I'm not like as intellectual as my dad when it comes to that, even though he says it's like stuff to me all the time. But it's 100%, man. I'm very frustrated with this hire, and I think Steelers fans are too.
Yeah, instead of getting as much value as you can from these older, expiring veteran contracts, you are letting it ride, putting it all back on black. And it's realistically looking at, this division is going to rebuild without him. Like, and I understand the idea of everybody else is rebuilding. This might be your year, but even with that, all almost at least the Ravens and Bengals are still a more talented roster, even though they're rebuilding. So they're just running on hopes and dreams from 8 years ago, but
Yeah,
with these type of players.
yeah, man. I mean, yeah. By the way, Coach of the Year just came out. It's Mike Vrabel. Mike Vrabel won Coach of the Year.
Okay, good. Yeah,
Yeah, sorry for Liam Cohen. No Ben Johnson either, but
that's okay.
Mike Vrabel. But yeah,
Deserving.
I guess moving on, I think the guy I want to talk about is another
Hmm.
one, and I think this is the theme of these back end head coach hires. It's a lot of drama, man. It's a lot of
Yep.
drama. It's very messy. The guy I want to talk about is, I'm going to talk about Joe Brady for a second. I was going to consider some other ones, but this to me, and we were talking about on the podcast earlier, seems like an absolute scapegoat hire. I think Joe Brady is a good coordinator. I think Joe Brady is a good offensive coordinator. He has worked with, he's basically Josh Allen's right-hand man. That's why they wanted him, because through all this turmoil, you need what is one of the, if not the best player in football right now, and that is Josh Allen, to be on your side. Joe Brady's that guy, right? And you bring in that offensive mind to control your team. But in reality, I just don't see it as a necessary upgrade to Sean McDermott. I don't see it. I was questioned like why they fired Sean McDermott in such a tight head coaching cycle in the first place, because I think he was a very highly respected head coach. He had a lot of success. I get it. You're doing the same thing over and over and over again. But I mean, you saw in some of his like interviews, was it really his fault, or was it upper level management, right? I think the question of, hey, we're going to promote Brandon Beane, and then we're going to get our owner to come on and talk crap about our, basically first round pick wide receiver we had 2 years ago. And then you put Sean McDermott in the dirt and you bring in Joe Brady. I think Joe Brady, it's fine, right? An internal promotion. You get an offensive kind of guru who's going to take over the reins. Do I think it's an upgrade? No. Time will only tell. He's a young guy, young offensive mind. You see that a lot. Like that worked out very, very well last year with all those coaches. But I think it's a way to try to say, oh my God, we had all this crazy stuff. But guess what? We're getting Josh Allen's right-hand man as our head coach. Don't worry about anything else. We're going to get A.J. Brown in a trade. Everything's going to be perfectly fine in tip-top shape. So I think this is definitely a better hire than McCarthy. I just don't think it's an upgrade to what they had beforehand.
Yeah. No, and I agree with you. And a big part of this is Joe Brady's a offensive-minded coach. Sean McDermott was a defensive-minded coach. So Joe Brady basically had the reins of this offense the last 2 years. So when you get rid of Sean McDermott, why is there an upgrade? Like there should be a steady decline of, defensive performance. Now you're losing a top defensive coach and arguing just promoting the same guy you've already had. So we talked about it. It's something where then there's a few different positions throughout these teams that are kind of common where there may be a reason why some candidates might have dropped out or may not have wanted a certain job. And I think this is one of those cases where there's so much backlash happening in that front office that some of the top candidates kind of dropped out. And so they kind of panicked. And I think, now don't get me wrong also, Joe Brady is a very talented offensive coordinator. He had the last 2 years, he's had opportunities to interview with other teams and have done really well there. But this is very much, to me, a scapegoat. They kind of panicked and they just started promoting people without maybe the best resumes. And now they're stuck and they just have to rock with it. They had to make Josh Allen happy. So
yeah, I mean, I don't think Joe Brady's a bad coach.
Yeah.
By any means. Like, I don't think he did, wasn't like one of those guys. He didn't command a horrible offense, but yeah, I definitely see where, yeah. So another interesting one. Very interesting.
It feels like a very rebuild-esque hire. But if you're the Bills, you can't afford a full rebuild right now. You can't afford any more years without competing with Josh Allen.
You're basically putting all the blame on McDermott and saying, this doesn't work. We got issues, And again,
100%.
yeah. Who do you got next, Josh? Who is the next head coach you want to talk about?
Yeah, I think this is the other one that you were alluding to, and that's Todd Monken with the Browns.
Yep.
There's a lot to discuss here. First and foremost, Todd Monken was originally going to be the offensive coordinator for John Harbaugh with the Giants. Then the Browns went and scooped him up after that verbal agreement. There's so much to talk about. This Browns team did a very interesting thing with some of their head coach candidates.
You're telling me, man, those had hiring process. It's like taking a college exam.
They had him write papers, do like 7+ hour interviews. I've never seen so many candidates drop out of a position so fast. There was so much, outlash from players about how much they love their defense coordinator, Jim Schwartz, and how well he's performed. I mean, Myles Garrett, defensive player of the year, saying, unanimous, broke the single season sack record. And you bring in a guy that's basically Jim Schwartz, but on offense in a way, a very like an older guy that's very tough and very hard-headed, and immediately clash with Jim Schwartz. And now Jim Schwartz he's gone. He's not staying. So now you have so much backlash of players being upset, and you got a guy that truly does not have a good resume when it comes to leading teams. Todd Monken has not done much in his career, and he's already called out, Shador's looking at all possibilities at quarterback. Um, I think just does not fit the timeline of what this Browns team is.
Yeah, I mean, I think though, again, I think with the Bills too, it's
Hmm.
the front office is just goof this one up. They had a lot of really talented coordinators in their lap that they really had the potential of bringing in. And you listen, you can't treat these adults, these grown adults,
Hmm.
who are some of the best coordinators in the league, like high school kids and college kids, and say, "Give me a 5 paragraph essay on why you want to join the Cleveland Browns." And submit it by night. And then they say, well, actually, I have to review stuff for the playoffs. Hey, sorry, we can't let you do that. You have to come in and do a pop quiz for us. Oh, pop quiz time at the Cleveland
Hmm.
Browns. No one's going to want to do that. That's not how the real world works. And this is the thing with you're trying to get all analytical. And listen, football is very analytical with some of this stuff. Man, like you forget some of the other things. Like these guys are guys. These guys are tough. They have experience. It's not like they're dummies. And so I think that really goofed them up. I think that then they kind of freaked out and said, because in my opinion, they always wanted a offensive minded head coach.
Yep.
Their defense was fantastic. And they said, listen, our offense needs a complete rebuild.
Hmm.
And I think they were looking at the Rams passing game coordinator for a while and he dropped out. I know they were looking at the Jags offensive coordinator. Absolute goof up. But then it's the other thing is they were stuck in a really hard position. Because listen, Jim Schwartz was a fantastic defensive coordinator, fantastic, highly
Hmm.
respected. Basically, was thinking after all these guys are dropping out, oh my god, I'm gonna get this job and play. And so this is like worst case scenario kind of thing.
Hmm.
I think Munkin could be good for the Browns offense, right? I'm not saying that. He's had experience with very good offenses, with Baltimore's offense, creating a whole new scheme that really terrorized the NFL and has been really
Hmm.
scary. Certainly it took a little bit of a step back this year, but I mean, it just doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense in the position that they were in. And I think they got to that position because they tried to act all bossy and guys are like, you know what, screw this. I don't want to do this. And then they're like freaking out and they go and hire Munkin. And then it creates this ripple effect of, well, now your defensive coordinator, who is the most respected person on your team, hates the franchise and says, I'm done. Basically, basically it's either he plays out this contract and he's leaving or he's going to just completely, disown the contract and go. So
Yeah.
certainly I'm not going to necessarily say that Munkin is the problem. I don't think
Hmm.
Munkin himself is the problem. I think it's everything else that's going on in the general manager and the organization and how things are going. And that allowed Munkin to say, hey, we desperately need an offensive minded head coach. Hey, Munkin, you haven't got a lot of head coach interest. Let's just give you the hire. Of course he's going to take it. Of course he's going to take becoming a head coach at his age. You know, he's not, no offense, this is a very old head coach, first time head coach to come in. Uh, so again, it's just the process was so messed up, and I don't really see it necessarily as a crazy upgrade. And if anything, it really worsened the chemistry of the team. And I get scared for this Browns franchise because I mean, you come in with a fantastic rookie class, you got all this kind of high potential, and you go ahead and it looks like you're just screwing it up all over again.
Yeah. I want to throw an idea at you. I want to see what your opinion is. Looking strictly from an outside perspective of, maybe what these head coaches bring in. Now, what if Joe Brady and Todd Monken were to switch teams? Joe Brady, a young offense coordinator, would have gone to a young Cleveland team, and Todd Monken, who's an older first-time head coach, goes to the Bills. What would you say to that?
That's a great. I mean, you got to think about it from the perspective of the teams,
Hmm.
because I think the core thing with Joe Brady is he's got that relationship with Josh Allen, right? He's
Right.
got that relationship. That's what you want. Munkin has no relationship with any of these guys whatsoever, not even with Cleveland. The only difference is, I mean, these are both really good offensive minds, whether you like it or not. Guys that have been some of the top offensive minds in the league for a while. Is age. It's age too. Age plays a big factor. Old head coaches usually don't have crazy high success rates compared to guys bringing in younger head. You're seeing every
Mhm.
year. I mean, in the NFC playoffs, Matt LaFleur was the youngest head coach, and he's like 46. I mean, he is a young, stunning head coach because he's my head coach. I love Matt LaFleur.
Yep.
I think age plays an impact too. So I don't think it's necessarily a thing where you could say, oh, if they swapped, do the Browns automatically win? I
Mhm.
mean, I think it's kind of the same. Maybe they win a little bit more because Joe Brady's younger. I'd say, worked with the Bills, had a little bit more success there than Baltimore. But I mean, if Munkin went to the Bills, it'd be a huge, complete mess because he's got no relationships, no ties. You basically swapped out a, you know, kind of a guy who has been a defensive coordinator, veteran defensive coordinator for a team who has all those relationships for a guy older than him who's never had a head coaching gig in his career. So I think it's unfair to say swap because I think there's so many different levels to this. But I think the commonality, and this is the interesting thing, is I mean, I think with McCarthy, with these three head coaches we
Mhm.
talked about, is how significant the upper level of the NFL franchises work. Because sometimes it's like, as a fan, like you're like, I can't believe this. I can't believe that they would do something like this. And it's like right in front of your face. But then you look at the upper level and it's like, what the hell? What are they doing? What are
Mhm.
you doing? Why would you do such a thing? So I think it's baffling to me. It's really baffling to see like how some of these things work out for some of these head coaches. It's very frustrating. And I don't know. I'm going on a little bit of a tangent because I think that the
No, but
general manager aspects of it for teams like this are playing much larger roles than they need to. And the muddying everything up is making it
mhm.
worse because everyone's so analytical and so much of a scapegoat that they forget the core important parts of just player chemistry, of tenure, of longevity. Because you don't want to coach, I say this all the time is like, even if you're the smartest guy in the room, if you're a jerk and nobody likes you, no one's going to want to work with you. It's like Brian Kelly at LSU. I know this is a college
Yep.
reference. Like, yeah, he's a smart coach, but guys hated his guts because he had no
Mhm.
relationships there. And then it's the same thing. You're burning bridges with all these different players. And I think the Bills did it better because they brought in Joe Brady, who's Josh Allen's best friend. But for the Browns, it's your core significance was your defense and your defensive coordinator. And you're basically completely burned that bridge for the unknown. So that's my like 2 cents on it, or like 10 minutes on that. So yeah,
Mhm.
it's just
My
crazy,
my final
man.
piece about that. Yeah, I like this is what I love about, fighting these new head coaches and all this stuff. I think if the Browns could really choose between Todd Monken and Joe Brady, I think they would definitely go back and look again at Joe Brady. And not only that, but the relationship that he has with Josh Allen and what he's able to bring to an offense, as well as his relationship within the coaching staff. I think if Joe Brady would have come to Cleveland, I think Jim Schwartz would have been happier and would have been able to take up that higher mantle of not necessarily the head coach, but somebody who can truly be a head coach of that defense.
Yeah.
I think Todd Monken there, the Browns, has come in as an older head coach. He's very old style when it comes to hierarchy, and he's going to take over the entire team. Is that going to be
You
good?
can't do that. You can't do that
Right.
with a guy like
There,
him. Yeah.
there's so many different ways head coaches are now hierarched into their team. We see things like John Harbaugh, who is truly like the CEO of the team in the
Hmm.
Giants. You see, I want to go with the Jaguars. You see Liam Cohen, who's the head coach, but is mostly focused just on offense. And the defensive coordinator, Anthony Campanelli, is strictly head coach of the defense. And then you see things where it's such butting heads, like what's going to be with Todd Monken and if Jim Schwartz stays with the Browns.
Yeah. It's going to be really interesting to see how this plays out. But so a little bit, it's very messy.
Yeah. And We have two more head coaches. Obviously, these ones have a little bit less to talk about, I believe. I'll throw you this one, Mike LaFleur for the Cardinals. Quick little
Yeah, I
synopsis.
was definitely I think it's a thing with, like, they wanted Clint Kubiak.
Hmm.
It was basically like a tier level of, like, who got Clint Kubiak, who got Mike LaFleur, and the Cardinals came out the losers of that. Another LaFleur in the building, man. I can't
Yep.
believe it. Yeah, certainly I'd think it's a bit of a risky hire. Young head coach. He's the offensive-minded guy, kind of has that, thing with the Rams, but he never called plays in Los Angeles. He is a very, very fresh head coach. Very fresh. So this is definitely I don't necessarily mind it. I think they definitely need an offensive-minded head coach, but this is a dice throw.
Mm,
I think they're losers because they didn't get Kubiak, but I don't think they could have definitely done a lot worse, right? They could have definitely done because were you talking about these three teams? Nothing that happened with those three teams has happened with the Cardinals or the Raiders, which I
mm.
think is a win on its own.
It's a good thing. Yep.
But I think LaFleur, this is definitely he is going to be building alongside that team. They have pieces, they have pieces I think he can work with. I don't know if they've hired a defensive coordinator yet, but
Hmm.
they need to get a fantastic defensive coordinator in that building because he is going to be only focused on that offense. So I think it's a very middle of the pack thing. I know a lot of Cardinals fans are very frustrated because they didn't get Kubiak, and this is a
Hmm.
guy who, again, has no play calling experience. It's a dice throw. I think this is a high risk, but possibly very high reward hires. I think it's like, what it reminds me of? It's honestly, I'd say it's the riskiest hire here. Halfley is up there. I think Halfley is
Hmm.
very up there, but I think this is one that could be very high risk, high reward.
Yeah, I agree with you that Michael Ford definitely has to grow with this team. I do like the Jeff Hafley hire more than this because both of these teams are missing the most important part of the team, which is the quarterback. Jeff Hafley over there has that type of mentality, like a room aspect where he is going to come in and bring his own version of the team. I don't know if you've quite seen what Mike LaFleur's version of a NFL team is. I don't quite know what his mentality is. Obviously, not being maybe as big as a voice as Jeff Hafley was with the Packers compared with Mike LaFleur, the Rams. Really young guy. There's pieces on this offense. Michael Wilson, Marvin Harrison Jr., Greg McBride. You got key pieces on the offensive line, Paris Johnson, Michael Hort, running backs, Trey Benson, James Conner, quarterback. You have a massive contract in Kyler Murray. I think that bridge is completely burned. So, it's questionable what they're going to do with that. And I think whoever they do bring in, if that's through the draft, if that's through free agency, if that's just keeping Jacoby Brissett on his final year of his deal and rocking with him, I think there's key stones that they're going to have to grow with Mike LaFleur here.
Yeah, I think you brought up a good point is you just haven't seen what the culture is like with Mike LaFleur. Obviously, people are going to point out Sean McVay tree, right? The Sean McVay tree is a very good tree to be a part of. But again, the guy hasn't called plays. He's kind of like you look at it, he's like, oh, he's an integral part of the offense. What does he do? Like what does he kind of do in that situation? What culture does he bring? Because maybe this isn't the best knack on Jonathan Gannon, who's now the new Green Bay defensive coordinator, but
Hmm.
that team, especially towards the back half of the season, lost all culture. They had no culture. What is he going to bring? I think it's very uncertain and unknown to that point. But I think, from a dice throw, I think you have the opposite side of it, which is the Raiders
Yeah.
getting Clint Kubiak. What do you think about that one?
I love this pick. Looking at what Clint Kubiak has done with the Seahawks right now, I mean, they're in the Super Bowl. They're in the Super Bowl with Sam Darnold as their lead signal caller. The guy that's been known, I hate to throw this out at him, but seeing ghosts, disappearing in playoffs. This is a
Yep.
guy that incredible. Like, and we've talked about it all season long. What he's been able to do with JSN, the run game, this offensive line, just all of this, and you bring him over to the Raiders with first overall pick Fernando Mendoza. As much as this is a win for Fernando, this is a massive win for Ashton Genty. The Seahawks
Yeah.
ran the ball at the highest percentage this season right now. and you bring in a creative offensive mind for Ashton Genty, potential's there. I mean, the ceiling is so high. The only thing, and we actually talked about this earlier this year, is the history of first overall picks with first overall pick
Yeah,
quarterbacks with
that's
rookie head
right. Yeah.
coaches. And so another instance of that happening, we talked about Urban Meyer with Trevor Lawrence, Frank Reich with Bryce Young, Matt Eberflus with Caleb Williams. We've talked about this so much. So hopefully it doesn't happen again. Brian Callahan with Cam Moore's another example.
Yeah.
So I love this as a schematic point of view with a easier offense for a rookie Fernando Mendoza, a key run game with Ashton Genty. I think there's still a lot of holes that need to be fixed on this Raiders offense, especially offensive line, wide receivers. But if they're able to make, Brock Bowers a focal point of this offense, this could easily become a top 10 offense immediately.
Yeah, I think with Kubiak is this Raiders team definitely needs rebuilding. He's got his hands full, but he's, like you said, he's in position to get a good quarterback. I'd say this is probably one of the better quarterback, first year head coach kind of things. I mean, those coaches certainly had their questions coming in. I don't think there's a lot of questions coming in with a Super Bowl offensive coordinator. I know the Seahawks offense sometimes stagnated a little bit. But I mean, you transform Sam Darnold into one of the best quarterbacks in the league. JSN is probably going to be Offensive Player of the Year. You completely transformed your offensive line that was horrible. He's going to bring over guys from Seattle, too, which I think is a plus because he is that play caller. I think he has more swing than Mike LaFleur would. I just think he's got a lot of work on his hands, especially now with the reports that Max Crosby has likely played his last snap as a Raider. So it's going to be really interesting to see how you monitor that. And I think it's the same thing again this Raiders defense was terrible. They're going to need a slam dunk hire at that defensive coordinator position because I think that offense definitely has more pieces. Ashton Genty, Brock Bowers, you invested Dante Thornton, Jack Bash in your receiving core with Trey Tucker, and you're going to get Mendoza. But the thing is, I think especially with the Raiders is you have to fix that offensive line. I mean, when you watch that offensive line last year, it was atrocious. And if you're going to keep that offensive line, I mean, Fernando Mendoza is going to end up like Carr.
David Carr.
It's going to be like David Carr. So certainly, I think they got one of the best head coaching hires because you got a really bright offensive mind who called plays, has experience, has that longevity. So I think this is a fantastic pick, but it's certainly to a team where he's got to get his hands dirty in order to figure it out.
Yeah, and I think if he is able to bring over a future defensive coordinator from that Seahawks team right now, I think this goes from an A to an A++ pick. Immediately. So under Mike McDonald, immediate, one of the best hires.
Yeah, man. I really do. I think this is a really good one to monitor. But we do have some new stuff. And actually, I'm going to give you something because something just dropped about a couple minutes ago. I want to hear your thoughts on this. The new
Hall of Fame?
Hall of Famers for the class of 2026. It's official. And I'm actually this class is a pretty good class. I'm going to list them.
I took a little peek at it, but yeah.
I'll list them off. I'll let you know what you think, or you let me know what you think. You got Drew Brees at the helm, very deserved. Larry Fitzgerald, very deserved.
Very.
Luke Kuechly, Adam Vinatieri, and Roger Craig. The only really throwback guy in that list is Roger Craig.
Legendary 49ers running back.
I mean, here's the thing is I think all these guys deserve them. I don't think there's a single one that doesn't deserve to be in the Pro Football Hall of Fame here. I'm happy that Roger Craig is in it, dude.
Yeah.
He was fantastic, man. Craig the leg, man.
One of the best, versatile running backs. And from those, these teams, I mean, there weren't many running backs that could truly be such an important, effective pass catcher. And that was Roger Craig.
He was the unsung offensive weapon of the 49ers.
Yeah. My gosh. As much as Jerry Rice was important to Joe Montana, Roger Craig is right up there with him.
And then Vinatieri with another kicking Hall of Famer, man. I don't know how many there are.
It's just, I believe it's
Morton
just
Anderson.
Morton Anderson.
And him so he's a second. Wow, okay.
For punters, it's just Ray Guy. I know Shane Lechmer's been getting close so many years. But I believe second kicker ever. And most deserving.
Very much so. I mean,
Very
game-winning
much
kicks,
so.
beautiful. And then I don't think there's really much else to talk about the other three. I think best in their
Yeah,
positions. I think the
you yeah, you can definitely Larry Fitzgerald, 100%. Probably a top 5 wide receiver, you can argue top 3. Drew Brees is right up there with top 5, potentially top 3 quarterbacks. You can make an argument that Luke Kuechly got in a little early just because he didn't quite have the longevity
yeah,
of his career. But while he played, no one got the accolades like he did. No one was as effective in that position. No one was as good as a pass coverage linebacker
yeah.
who was also able to go to sideline. I really like this class. I think this is a very solid all around class for sure.
Yeah, I really do think it is, but I think there's one thing that really frustrates me with this class in that there should have been 2 extra guys in it, and that
Yep.
is Bill Belichick and Robert Kraft.
Robert
I,
Kraft
for the
as well.
life of me,
Yep.
do not understand the jealousy that
Uh,
is going on in this pro football league because these guys, little cheating, shut up. These guys are
yeah.
100% Hall of Famers. And I think that this week exposed a
Mm-hmm.
lot of issues with some of the stuff. And we're going to, I think you
100%.
wanted to mention this too, is you got that exposing with Hall of Famer bias. Because I mean, like it or not, Bill Belichick and Robert Kraft are first ballot Hall of Famers.
100, then they should have been.
But then, and I know you want to talk about a little bit, is the Pro Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
What has happened to my beautiful baby, the Pro Bowl? I mean, this is the thing now is like, we talk about it and accolades are, hey, this guy's been to like 15 Pro Bowls. That doesn't count. That doesn't count
It doesn't
anymore.
count anymore.
It just it doesn't like, and you're seeing it from all these older guys. It is so disappointing because something that is hung up on jerseys, hung up in accolades, is just it's a fan bias game. I mean, you can go into a little more because it's
Yeah.
boiling me up, man.
Real quick, with the Hall of Fame class and Bill Belichick and Robert Kraft, and you mentioned and like everybody's going to bring up Spygate, Deflategate. Okay, that's great and all. Now, is that going to affect Tom Brady's, Hall of Fame status? Are you going to bring up the same things? Like, what is this one-sided affair type of situation? And also the whole AP voting, the way that they vote on these Hall of Fame classes, and instead of bringing up a picture and the accolades and voting there, they have representatives of that person that's already people in that class that bring up. And if you aren't a fan of the player as a representative, you're not going to, promote the player as much. It's a whole flawed system with so many deserving players to be in the Hall of Fame and deserving coaches, owners, and you can only get so many in. There's only so many first ballot Hall of Famers, and it's all biasy. But enough about that. The Pro Bowl. What the hell? What is this?
Yes,
I mean, you mentioned it, but this thing's about to crash and burn when they're playing in a shipment compartment on a Tuesday.
yeah,
Like, I understand the players' aspects of this is an added extra game. Don't want to get injured. We've had in the past. That's why they took it out of Hawaii. They so early, a long time ago, there was a torn ACL playing on the beach. Took it out of Hawaii.
don't go
Okay,
on
I
the
get that.
beach. Just don't go on the beach. I mean,
Yeah,
you're
and I get it. You take away from the game. The game itself, if they played a full game, it was getting boring. No, there was no tackling. No, the flag football part was a good idea. They have to realize it's not going to work. It's not going to work. And not only the game itself, but you take out key players. What are the offensive linemen doing during the flag football game?
nothing.
You're taking away key players that deserve the Pro Bowl and not letting them get on the field. And then you have players like who throw more interceptions than touchdowns this year. And Shedeur Sanders, who was the 10th quarterback called. You have people like Justin Fields, who got benched halfway through the year, saying that he declines the Pro Bowl invite to work on the offseason. We had Brett Hundley, or Tyler Huntley,
Yeah,
2 or 3 years ago, was at one of the key Super Bowl or Pro Bowl quarterbacks. We had Joe Flacco and Joe Burrow this year. There's
Makes no
so much
sense.
that's wrong, and we Pro Bowls. You take away the last 5 years from last 5 and beyond. I mean, Pro Bowls is such a key topic when it comes to comparisons of careers and resumes.
Yeah,
And now you throw all that out because you have players that don't want to get hurt. You have players that are declining it because it's a waste of time. And so you get, the 30th best quarterback who's like, yeah, I'll go. what is the point of the Pro Bowl if you're not getting true pros out there?
And I think it's a frustrating thing too is you want this fan voting, right? And you want this, but it's getting increasingly more biased, especially in social media ages. Like Shador should have never been a conversation. Never, never. I can't believe it. I can't believe
Joe Flacco shouldn't have
that
been.
AFC lineup of quarterbacks was pitiful. And
Yeah.
it's just you're losing respect for one of the most significant
Mhm.
awards for NFL players, and to me, I just think this thing is crashing and burning, and you got really 2 options, is you kinda go back to the old days, or you just say, "Hey," I don't even know why you're playing the games anymore because 'cause you're just keep bringing up scrubs, and then the
Take
scrubs have Pro
yeah.
Bowls.
What they need to do is take the Pro Bowl, and they've talked about is add another game to the regular season. They want to add more games, take out nonsense in the Pro Bowl, and add another game if that's what you want. You want more ratings, more fans. You want more money coming in from all these third-party apps that are trying to play games. Take out the Pro Bowl, add another week.
Just put the Pro Bowl as an
Because
award, and just put it as
yes,
an award.
because of this year's Pro Bowl, beginning of the season, the Browns had three Pro Bowl quarterbacks on their roster beginning of the season. The Browns had the worst quarterback roster this year. Joe
Insane.
Flacco, Shador Sanders, Deshaun Watson. I take it back. They had four. They had Tyler Huntley as
That's
well.
right, yeah, they did, they had 4 Pro Bowl quarterbacks.
The Browns had the worst quarterback room this year. There's no reason to make an argument about it. Two rookies who played not great. Joe Flacco, who you trade away after throwing more interceptions than touchdowns. Deshaun Watson doesn't touch the field. And Tyler Huntley, you end up cutting. Kenny Pickett, you end up trading or cutting as well.
Yeah.
They had 4 Pro Bowls. Four Pro Bowlers. What happened to my game?
I think it's not even just it's not just ruining the sport, it's ruining the legacy of it's ruining the significance
Yes,
of everything. So I think it's a complete mess top down, and I think that the way it's devolved, it is devolved. It is not evolved, it's completely devolved over time.
100%.
So yeah, it just sucks, man. It just sucks. It pisses me off. I can't even I want to say Pro Bowl all the time because I'm like, damn, this guy's good. But now I'm gonna say one-time Pro Bowler Mac Jones, Shadeur Sanders, and Tyler Huntley take the field.
Yeah, it's so
It's
true.
absurd. So, anyways, enough of the rant. Long story short, Pro Bowl sucks now. Change it back. We will do the job for you guys. Goal line guys are here to stay. But I think we're glossing over the most important thing in this, and that is what's right behind me, the Lombardi
Super
Trophy.
Bowl 60.
Super Bowl 60, the Patriots versus the Seattle Seahawks. As I said, never in a million years would I expect these two teams to have been in the Super Bowl now, but it's a rematch. It's a good one. I think this is a very good game. But I certainly have my picks on what I think is the key things that are going to happen. Josh, why don't you kind of kick us off on your like analysis of the game and what you kind of think overall is going to happen?
Yeah, looking at both these teams, to me, they both have big questions when it comes to their offense. This Patriots offense, this run game is questionable. You have had questions among the offensive line. You have 2 rookies starting, Will Campbell, Jared Wilson. Um, Offensive line is not a great point of their game. This all comes down to Drake May, who is a second-year player. Obviously, I don't know if the MVP has been announced yet, but most likely will be a runner-up. Incredible player, but you know he's a second-year player. This is his first time in any of this type of situation. Defense is fantastic. They play such a solid defense. And look at this. You look at the Seahawks, and it's very much similar. You have a quarterback that hasn't had this type of game situation before. You have a running game that's been very up and down. With Zach Charbonnet now out with a partially torn ACL, I believe. So you have your big bruiser, red zone back now out for the game, or out for a while but not playing. Receivers, you have a key player in JSN, and then you have some other guys that are very special in certain ways but aren't a complete wide receiver. And then you have a amazing sound defense. I'm going to quickly go over some key matchups I have that I do want to talk about. Then I'll throw it back to you, and then we can talk about potentially score predictions and who we
Yeah.
think we're going to win. A key matchup, I want to kind of give a few for each team. This Patriots interior D line is probably the best in football. Mostyn
Yeah.
Williams, Christian Barmore. and it's against a very, I want to say poor, but a below average Seahawks interior offensive line. Ray Zabel, left guard, rookie, has played outstanding. Really
Mhm.
good. Now, he is a rookie, and he's had some issues, but he's very good. Center, Jalen Sundell, second-year player, UDFA. He's okay. Anthony Bradford,
We talk this
right
is the,
guard.
like, the third guy time we talked about this guy.
I won't say much. A not a very great player. So
Mhm.
the overall poor interior offensive line against a very stout, very good Patriots interior. Interior. We just saw what Milton Williams did last year with the Eagles against a really good Chiefs interior offensive line. He dominated the Super Bowl. He was against Trey Smith, Joe Thuney, and Creed Humphrey. One of them just won the Protector of the Year.
Well, actually,
Creed
Joe
Humphrey's
Thuney was a left tackle in that game, if you
you
remember.
know, you're right. He was
He
left tackle,
was left
wasn't he? I
tackle.
forgot
He
he
was left
rotated out.
tackle.
Trey Smith is a top 5 right guard. Creed Humphrey is probably the best center in the league right now.
Mhm.
And Milton Williams dominated that game. I could see a situation where it's same thing again. Some other key matchups. I think the one that's going to be on everyone's billboard is JSN, Jackson Smith and Jigba versus Christian Gonzalez. And Christian Gonzalez is going to travel with them the entire game.
Yeah.
As important as that is, I think another key matchup is Cooper Kupp versus Carlton Davis. I think that's going to be I think Christian Gonzalez is going to do really well against Jason. I think as much as the Seahawks are going to target Jason, I think Mike Vrabel is smart enough to realize that he has to take Jason out of this game completely. The offense runs through him. So I think Cooper Kupp and Carlton Davis is another very key matchup. Cooper Kupp, a former Triple Crown winner, Super Bowl MVP, and Carlton Davis has had an outstanding postseason, multiple interceptions, key pass breakups. Very, very important. So yeah, those are just a few like key matchups. Things it comes down to interior of trenches, D line especially, and the big question mark is Nick Emanwori, the safety
Yeah.
slash slot slash nickel money backer, basically everything. Kind of plays a little bit of it all for the Seahawks.
Yeah.
From South Carolina, he is such a key component of this defense. He is the reason why they've had such talent, such success by running a nickel defense. When you come out of nickel, you're supposed to be poor against the run. If you come out in your base defense, supposed to be poor against the pass.
Mhm.
And you bring in a safety who's so versatile, so big, so physical that you can take out a linebacker, sub him in, and still be just as good against the
Yeah.
run as the pass. So he is questionable. I think that's a big storyline going into this game. But I'll throw it back to you for some of your thoughts about this.
Yeah, I mean, I think Eamon will play. I think we talked about that.
Yep.
It's a Super Bowl. Yeah,
He's
I
going
think
to
you're
play.
right. I always go back to the trenches as a guy who's
Mhm.
been in the trenches. It's so important. And the one I think the you talked about Seattle versus Patriots. I'm thinking the other way around. I'm thinking Patriots versus Seattle because the playoffs have not necessarily been kind to the Patriots offensive line. They've gotten beat up a lot. And Drake May, under pressure, has had a lot of issues. He's had a lot of turnovers. You look at his playoff stats, really not the best. I mean, he beat the Texans with 86 yards of passing.
Yep.
Like he did
Now
not.
the weather is
The
a
weather was
aspect,
bad, but still
but
did
still, yeah.
not have a great game. And this is to me, this is the game where it says, "Hey, listen, Drake May, you haven't had to play your best to win these games, but it's the Super Bowl, and you're going to have to play your best to win these games." And listen, you've gotten really beat up by these defensive lines, so let's get you against the best, one of, if not the best defensive line in football. I mean, this Seattle front seven, the goal of Mike McDonald is pressure, pressure, blitz, blitz, beat the crap out of Drake May, force those fumbles, make him fumble. This Patriots offensive line, two rookies, right? Two rookies, Jared Wilson and Will Campbell. Garrett Bradbury, I wouldn't say is the best center in the league. And you got two vets on the right side. But on the defensive line for Seattle, it's an Nwosu, Byron Murphy, Leonard Williams, DeMarcus Tank Lawrence. You got Ernest Jones at linebacker. Got Nicky Manwart. Got all these guys, man. That's where my concern comes in is, can this Patriots offensive line do enough to make sure that Drake May doesn't make those stupid plays? Can they give him enough time to preserve the ball down the field? And it's the same thing with the Patriots receiving core. I think their receiving core, for the guys that have been playing, it's kind of like a normal Patriots receiving core. A lot of unsung heroes, a lot of guys who you really like. I remember when people were saying Kayshon Boutte was going to be one of the worst draft picks Patriots ever made, and he's been fantastic down the playoff stretch. Demario Douglas, you got an old Stephon Diggs. Again, this Seattle secondary is fantastic. It's a hard secondary to beat. So I think that is my key matchup. And then the other one I really have is special teams. Both teams have had really good special teams, specifically Seattle. Seattle throughout the playoffs has been absolutely dominant on special teams, and it speaks volumes to the way that they are performing because you saw in the Niners game, you saw in the Rams game, they were being absolutely unbelievable on special teams. The Patriots are fantastic on special teams too. And so I think special teams is very overlooked, but it is a key reason why both these teams are in the positions that they are. I wouldn't be surprised if Shaheed pops off a big one. I mean, that would be a crazy thing. He has been an unbelievable acquisition, specifically because how much he has transformed that return game for them. So I'd say those are my key matchups. And then obviously you have two defensive masterminds going at each other's throats in Mike McDonald and Mike Vrabel. I mean, that is the key matchup. Two guys who are defensive scheme masters with two really incredible defenses that have developed. I think it's going to determine, I think it's not which offense is the most hot. I think it's which defense is the most hot in this game. I think this is a pure defensive performance type of game from coach down to players. This is what these teams are really known for, especially in the back end of these games. But to me, if I want to go with my personal opinion on the game, I think there's a clear and distinct winner, in my opinion, and that is the Seattle Seahawks. I think the Seattle Seahawks are going to win the Super Bowl. I just think their roster is built better. I think their playoff run has been better against better teams. I don't think the Patriots had the strongest playoff run I've ever seen coming from a football team. They played the Houston Texans and CJ Stroud. Then they went and they played Denver. They went and they played the Denver Broncos.
Without Bo Nix.
Without Bo Nix, Jarrett Stidham, and then who
Yep.
else did they play? Who else was it?
They went out and they played. Man, I don't know who else they played,
but I don't think I then.
It was not a top defensive. It was the Chargers.
Yeah, the Chargers. And
Chargers,
again, those offenses really, really stagnated. They didn't have to put points on the board against this kind of team. This is a team, listen, I think the Patriots defense is going to do a lot against the Seattle team. But I think this is a game where, hey, your offense has to put points on the board. I think this is a game where, hey, if you don't get 17 to 21 points in this game, you're going to lose this football game. I think it's 17 to 21. If you don't get 17 to 21 points in this game, because usually sometimes these are pretty high, but I think this is a very defensive game. You don't get 17 to 21 points in this game, you will lose this football game. And to me, I just think the better roster, the team that has had the most success against the better teams, they've had deeper playoff runs. I just think Seattle is just better. I just think they're better. And so I think score prediction, if I wanted to give my score prediction, I think it is a 27 to 17 game. I'm going with Seattle.
I have a few little key notes. I agree with you as much as this is a defensive game. You have two incredible defensive minds, Mike McDonald, Mike Vrabel, but also two offensive minds that are both top of their spot. We talked about Clint Kubiak and what his offense brings, and Josh McDaniels just won the assistant coach of the year. What he has done with Drake May is nothing but outstanding. Now, I do have another thing to throw at you. We have seen throughout all these Super Bowls that there are certain unsung heroes that make a few plays that have completely changed the outcome of games. Malcolm Smith, for the Seahawks a long time ago. Malcolm Butler. I'm trying to think of defense right now. Von Miller. You also have offensive players. I'm thinking James White, and Jeffrey. All these types of players. Now, looking at these teams, I see two players, one on each team defensively, that I think can make huge impacts that aren't necessarily one of the players that you think of. Vaughn Witherspoon, playing in that slot. He's matched up against Pop Douglas, who isn't the most complete wide receiver. They love bringing him on blitzes. They love moving him all around. I think he can have a very key game and potentially could make a few game-sealing plays. Patriots. Same position, Marcus Jones, a short, a little bit smaller slot corner, but also is one of the best punt returners.
Yeah.
As much as we throw, congrats and throw all this praise for Rashid Shaheed, Marcus Jones is right up there as
Yeah,
well.
I'm not. Yeah. I get what you're saying. Yeah.
I'm just throwing some of these
Yeah.
guys that are like our unsung heroes that we've seen in Super Bowls that can make such high impacts. So those are the two players, one on each team that I would definitely keep an eye out. Marcus Jones also has had throughout his career plays on offense, so I wouldn't be surprised if Josh McDaniels does decide to run a few trick plays, figure out all the plays up his sleeve, and have certain packages with Marcus Jones on offense. He is one of the fastest guys in the
Yes.
league. With all that, you predicted Seahawks 27, Patriots 17.
Mm-hmm.
I have a very similar score, but a little bit closer. I have Seahawks 24, Patriots 21.
Okay. I like that. Yeah.
We agree that's going to be in that 17 to 27 score
Yeah.
range. Super Bowls are normally pretty close. I know we've had some in the past that weren't necessarily. I think these rosters are very similar. I think it's going to be a very close game.
Yeah. I do too. I do too. And with that being said, that concludes the final regular season episode. We have done this for a full season officially.
Yep.
After this episode, it is officially a full season of the Goal Line Guys. And thank you guys so much for being a part of it. As we said, we got a whole lot of stuff coming out, especially afterwards. Let us know what you guys think of our Super Bowl predictions in the comments below. There's certainly a lot of interesting things to point out. Certainly, we're going to look back at this game and we're either going to be the best or the worst.
For sure.
So once again, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Make sure to follow all our socials. Let us know what you think. And Josh, thank you for another great episode and a full season's worth of the Goal Line Guys.
Yeah, season 1 is officially over. After the Super Bowl, I know it's technically not the new season yet, but all eyes are forward.
Yep.
So season 2 will start, but with another season might come some changes. So keep an eye out on that.
Oh my God,
but
I'm
James,
so happy, man.
Have a awesome Super Bowl watch party, whatever you want to do, and have a good one.
You too, man. Take it easy. Don't drink too much.
You either. All right.
I'll catch you later, man.
See ya.